In the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
I just want to give a shout out before the show starts to all the sponsors, all the local businesses that have been coming through to help us out and get this thing started. Thank you to you guys.
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Located at 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. Water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com. The caribou call is coming in hot, boys.
Oh, yeah. Getting pretty good at that, aren't we?
Yeah, we got a double today.
Double wham, double shove. Welcome to another Alaska Wild Project podcast. Today we have a special guest in the house, Mr. Chef Adam Marcum. Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
A little history on Chef Adam. He was the originator of the menu at the Rustic Goat that is located on Northern Lights down in the west side in Turnagain neighborhood where Jack and myself live. And being a west side boy, I think that was a pretty cool deal that you came in there and took over the chefdom of the Rustic Goat, which we love.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was nice to come back to the neighborhood and be able to have some fun with the people I grew up with. So, yeah, good times.
Were you there from day one?
Day one, yeah. We helped create and design, and the logo is actually something I created. Just doodling a sketch and kind of went from there. And yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
Started with Claudia Brothers. Those guys are great. They were a huge support and a platform for me to really grow and create and develop my craft. So, yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's still pretty much your menu down there.
Yeah. They've got they're kind of branching out and trying new things and growing like everybody else. But yeah, the heart and soul is still there for sure.
Yeah, you guys created an awesome culture, and those nachos. I mean, I know that's probably not like the pinnacle of every chef one to hear, but I eat those nachos once a week, and they are amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I can hang my hat on is the nachos. So that's all right. Hey, you know what? You never know what's gonna make it work and what's not gonna work. But,
yeah, sometimes it just takes that one item that makes a restaurant makes people want to come back and just get that item.
Going for a beer and looking at nachos. Yeah. Lock it in.
Well, that was kind of the idea. Is when I sat down to make the menu, I kind of as a new chef, you take everything around you and you're like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I've got to you want to take and pull from everything else. And I kind of got to the point where I was kind of spinning my wheels and I thought, I'm just going to cook what I want to eat.
Yeah.
Because if I like it, other people must like it, And so we kind of just started over and we're making things that, things that I thought were interesting, things that I wanted to eat. And come to find out, that's kind of the true success of it all is, the things that were original to me seem to speak more to people than the things that I tried to emulate from other people. So.
Yeah.
It was a good lesson.
The original stuff. Mm-hmm.
A little bit more authentic and less forced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was it was a good ride.
Yeah. And that culture that you created there, it's still there. I mean, you go in there, it's vibrant. The employees love love being there, and I love having the customers come in. You get to know their names, and
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
great.
Well, and I think Pilates brings a lot of that to the table. Those guys had a following, a true following of people that are diehard Pilates fans, and and that neighborhood. It's a cool dichotomy of people, and
old neighborhood.
yeah,
Yeah, people live there for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I really think that that's the future for restaurants and breweries and things like that, to embed yourself within a community, whether it's a small neighborhood on some sort of town. You see Fire Island kind of following that model, whereas they're in a couple of neighborhoods around town. And I think that that's something that these community councils and these areas of town should really focus on, bringing that type of business, maybe expanding whatever the rules and regulations are for construction and licenses and businesses and different things. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Zoning.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be really cool to have something similar to Rustic Goat. I mean, we feel privileged because it's probably the first time it's been done in Anchorage, and it just happened to be in our neighborhood.
Right.
Which is cool. I mean, I always thought it'd be awesome to have something similar to that, like up on the hillside, have something like that on the east side, on the south side, and these little neighborhoods that are where people live there their whole life, and then this restaurant just kind of becomes knitted with the community there.
Yeah. Something you can walk to.
yeah.
It's just really nice having that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of conscious though, moving into situations like that, of realizing who's in your neighborhood. Because I think at first the lesson learned was we need to be embraced by that neighborhood and not necessarily capitalize on that neighborhood.
Right.
And I think when we opened, we were a lot more successful than we had expected to be. And we really kind of disrupted the neighborhood, not having the parking and things like that. And having that foresight to have, what is this community looking for, and how can we help better this community instead of coming in to try to really make a profit off of the people living in there. Because you're a neighbor now. I mean, you really are.
Yeah.
And so
you're
you have
embedded.
to be, sort of a cheerleader for that neighborhood. And
Adam, can I have you move the mic just a little? You can move the mic
way?
towards
This
you.
way?
Yeah, just put it closer to you so we can get
all right, is that better?
the full sexy going on.
All right, I got that deep voice.
Yeah,
There you go.
that deep fried nachos.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was, realizing the neighborhood you're moving into and making sure that you're, what is the word I'm looking for?
I think
you're
embedding.
an advocate for that neighborhood.
Yeah.
There it is.
I know there was a serious battle with that parking spot that was going on there.
Oh, my God.
I mean, there was signs and protesters and
Yeah.
and let's be honest, before that they wanted to be a parking lot, like people were not using that park.
No.
Right.
Like you might have walked by that
Yeah.
or whatever, but it wasn't like you're taking your kids to this
No,
little
you're-
spot.
I mean, people were essentially, it was just a drug spot.
yeah.
It really is.
corner?
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was funny fact. So when we'd first opened and we had the picketers out front, right? I'd go to work in the morning and we'd park on the other side of the street, and I'd have to walk past the picketers going into work, holding their Kaladi coffees that they had bought at the restaurant, right? And I was so tempted to just walk out and be like, "Y'all need a refill? Can I help you out?" Like, it was intense there for a little bit. Like, I've got everything on the line. This is you can't hide behind it when you're, when you're the face of a company.
There every day.
It's on, and so, I'm 25. The pressure's on, or 26, and like I'm not sure if I can even pull this off. And then I got these guys out front with their signs and coffees, and I just. Oh, man.
An extra hurdle to jump there on the
just
way.
one more thing. It's like, give me a break, guys. We'll just try to make a living.
Right.
Nothing worth doing comes easy.
Hey, I wouldn't take it back for the world. I mean, it was a great experience, and I have so much more confidence now, I think, in my business attributes and, my view of the world and my creations and things like that, it was a great journey for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think
experience.
and it proved that type of concept works.
Yep.
And you find a lot of that, in my trips to Mexico and Colombia and different places like that, where you'll see vendors that come out only in certain neighborhoods. They're not going to like the main spot. Like, for example, the hot dog stands on 4th Avenue where all the people at. It'd be like me opening the hot dog stand, right in Turnagain, right at Linary Park.
Right.
Where it's like they know you're going to be there at this time and this night, and it's just a schedule, and then it's just a part of the community, and they support them. And I'm sure the vendors that I was in Mexico City, they'd come open up their little taco cart place. I mean, the guy probably lives on the same street, you know, and his kids are there, and so everyone just supports what he's got going on.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely need to ease the rules or make some gray area where you can make some more of these kind of symbiotic relationships between a craft, place, like it can be at a coffee shop or a bakery or a brewery and a restaurant in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, if the community embraces it and wants it, let them have it.
Game on.
What's the problem? You know.
Well, there was some
and I
backlash at first. I mean, they didn't embrace it at first. There was a lot of, what's this going on? Is this what kind of crowd is this going to draw? But I think it really proved that this works. And I'm sure if you talk to some of those protesters now, they're probably regulars.
Oh, yeah.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
They probably live right there, and they're like, I don't want all these people parking out there. They're used to seeing the drug deal go down every time.
Right.
And now it's not that. Now it's restaurateurs or foodie people coming to actually eat and spend money in the neighborhood, and they want to see it nice there. And I'm sure Rustic Goat embedded themselves in that community and keep that area clean, and they made it look spectacular.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece right there off of Northern Lights when you drive by.
Well, and we subsequently increased property value. I mean, we bring
big
the
time.
neighborhood up with us, right? I mean, there's so many times we'd be looking at. We bought a house a couple of years ago, and I remember looking at houses, and you'd see a house on the west side, and it's like, cute little west side neighborhood nestled next to the Rustic Goat within walking distance, so on and so forth. And you're like, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
That's the idea, right? Like,
So now they're using it as a perk.
right?
Yeah, highlight. You buy the Rustic Goat. Oh, let's check that place out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So JJ Brooks he was sort of the mastermind of the whole project. I can't remember what he does. I call him an adventure capitalist. He looks like Owen Wilson. Sorry, my mic skills are so.
You're doing fine.
But he figured out this weird clause to where, so we own the condos next to it as well, or he owns the condos. We had to have the restaurant, and combined, that's what gave us the ability to have that zoning to be able to do that. So this mixed use idea of having living space as well as a restaurant was sort of the concept that broke us into being able to do something like that.
Yeah.
And he was a whiz. I mean, he's helped build the Rock Gym and done a bunch of other stuff.
Cool.
Well, sometimes I feel it takes these super smart people to like find these loopholes to go around maybe some of these archaic rules that a city might have to come up with something cool. And I see that that's happening downtown as well, where they're creating these buildings that is like office space, stores, condos, mixed use, like you're saying, and having the city and the muni like lax on these rules and these regulations allows for real creative new concepts that people can enjoy, and let the public decide, this we like this or we don't like that. And obviously if people didn't like it and people didn't go there, they wouldn't have been around for a long time.
Right,
that'd probably be like a gym or a yoga studio now.
Right. It'd be a giant bougie coffee shop is what it would be.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't a new restaurant one of the toughest businesses to be successful?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's absurd, and
the pressure's on,
Yeah. What's cool is, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to go on this, but what's interesting is this industry is kind of at the end of an ice age, right? Like, I feel like in the next 10 to 15 years, our industry is going to completely change. I think service is something that's in the past. I think it's still important. There's going to be niche restaurants, and there's going to be places where there's going to be service, and service is important. It's a huge integral role of the industry, but I think a lot of these chefs are realizing it's a lot cheaper for them to downsize, cut costs, and operate on a level like a hot dog stand or a food truck or something where they can represent and control their own brand with their own, their staff, and they have complete control of that product and that brand, instead of having to pay a service staff on top of that. A lot of this quick service, things are coming through where it's counter service, things like that. And I think COVID has sort of forced that move. Right before all this hit, there's a guy named Danny Myers he's sort of the godfather of hospitality in the United States. And he had moved to a new system where there was no longer a pooled tip system for front of the house. The tip was included in the bill itself, right? So it was an automatic 18% or 20% on whatever your bill was. And so you didn't tip anybody. And then that money was distributed out and everybody was paid a higher wage. So instead of a server making, let's say, $8 an hour and $38 an hour with tips, and a kitchen worker making $12 an hour, now everybody's making $16 an hour, $18 an hour,
Oh, it
and we
evens
can
it
afford
out.
insurance, right?
Oh, okay.
So that equality was sort of set in motion. It got kicked back on a federal level. Somebody I don't know the details, but somebody in Vegas messed it up for everybody. So they had rolled that back, but with COVID now, I think we're moving again towards that direction of trying to stabilize that. Because I mean, you're not going to find somebody to work for $12 an hour right now.
Yep.
No.
Not when you're making $600 on unemployment, and so it's forcing the industry to sort of rethink what's relevant now, where we're at, where we're going to go, and I think we're going to see a lot of changes in
A shift.
and how service is produced and how food is put out and presented. So
I think
I'm
I
excited
think you're
to see
right.
it.
I think you're right, and you see people that have realized, well, I don't need to have a person at the front door, and I don't need to have 3 servers, and I don't need to have this one guy. Like as an example, the little Thai place there off Spinard. I mean, they could have been having people come in and sit down and dining, but that's one more person that they have to hire to do that. Whereas they're probably doing just as well with takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's an expense that they'd rather not spend and focus on the quality and maybe do some more advertising and things like that. So I think that you're 100% on the mark that there's some changes coming and people are trying to come up with new ideas and new ways to run these businesses. And let's be honest, running a restaurant or anything like that, the profit margin is slim and there's a lot of possible ways to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's every way to lose. It's to make it work is really, I mean, it's luck, it's skill, it's a lot of things, but it's a hard business as it is, and so to add variables that are going to make it even harder just seems like I think we're getting to the point where it's like enough is enough, and it's time to rethink how we're going to do this. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I got a friend of mine works. Tyler, he has that. I don't know if you've seen it downtown. It's Gringo's Tacos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love
He
it.
slays it.
Love it.
He
Kills it.
slays it, right?
Oh.
Kills it.
You know why that is? Because he's the guy in the window.
Yep.
He's got his hands on your food, and he's explaining what it is and why he does it. When you can conceptualize that vision, you can say, "Hey, check it out. This is what I did, and this is why I did it. And this is the vision that I had." And then somebody tries it, and it's like, "Oh, I can see that."
Taste
Boom.
it and all that.
Hook,
Yeah.
line, and sinker. Now you have an audience. You have somebody that understands the vision, and your marketing and your branding are now in line with exactly what it is that you want to do, and you're unstoppable. I mean, that's what you guys have done. I mean, it's really it's easy to understand what you guys represent. It's easy to understand what you guys are trying to do. You're the faces of it. You guys are there, and look at how successful it's been.
Yep. The people want to come in and hear about what you're up to and learn about the passion, and I mean, it keeps it exciting. People keeps you relevant, and it's not only rewarding, as you would know as a chef, when someone comes in and tries something that we create and drives out of their way, but when they want to come back and bring their friends, and then you see that same person, oh man, it's really cool. But it's that shared passion and being able to interact with that person with the energy, or those people that have your company's culture, or your whatever your craft, you're making the culture of your brand and bring that to the table every day.
Yep.
It's pretty rad.
And having the control as the owner, as the chef at Gringo's, or at the hot dog stand, and people want to go there and they know that, as for example, what was his name again at Gringo's?
Oh, it's Tyler.
Tyler,
yeah.
You go there and like you have a question, he's gonna pop his head out the window and be like, "Oh yeah, I did this. I slow roasted this for this many days. I'm doing it on this day, and you should try it with this." And it's like, man, you're talking to the guy that made it. Like, there's nothing better than that.
Yep, right
you know,
from
it's
the
like
source.
right from the source, a real connection. To your food, which people are looking for.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I mean, when we first opened the Goat, we had acquired 2 food trucks. This is a crazy random story. Somebody had approached Kaladi's, and what's his name? The guy from 300 with the beard.
Oh,
Gerald Butler.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to do a movie up here, right? So somehow he'd gotten into my restaurant, and nobody saw him, or I don't know how. Somehow he figured out who we were. He got a hold of the owners and said, "Hey, we're going to do a movie up here. We'd like you guys to cater it. And of course, we're like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Sign us up.
I got a beard like yours. We can make this happen, right? Like, so Tim had went out and he bought these food trucks for this event. And then I guess, you know, Alaska, we taxed him too much. Something happened. He ended up going out. So we have these food trucks now. And I was also a coach for the high school Pro Star teams. I was the coach for West High for the culinary teams, because culinary when you're in high school is not cool. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah,
I did it.
home ec.
Yeah, I wasn't cool until I was an adult and like was making money. And then they're like, "Hey, that's a cool job." I'm like, "Why didn't you say that when I was 16?" Like,
It's the nerd factor.
Right.
No nerds are cool until after high school.
right.
Then they're the coolest.
but I was teaching the team, the West High team. And they'd never
Hold
placed
on. There's a culinary arts team,
Yeah,
like a cooking team.
yeah. So
They didn't have that when I was in high
I think
school.
you said a pro team too.
KCC, the King Career Center,
Yeah.
has a culinary program, right? And then out of that, they have Pro Start, which is a
Pro Start, that's
competition,
what it was.
right? And each school has a teacher who's a mentor that teaches like home ec or I think culinary. And then they're sponsored or represented by a coach, which is the whole thing's voluntary. And we compete every year. And the winner gets like a $25,000 scholarship to culinary school.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool
cool.
deal. And so for me, it's always been, what can I do to, you know, I've been blessed to have the opportunities I've had to get to where I am. And so for me, it's all about giving back to the community and helping these kids go, hey, you can do this. Like, it's a lot of work, but it's achievable. I've done it, you know? So here are the steps, here are the things I've learned, here are the techniques that you need to know to like give you real world skills when you get out of high school. Because it's a rough job. I mean, you're broke, you work nights, you work weekends. The sacrifice is so much that it's a small percentage of us that are crazy enough to do it. And so for me to nurture that and really give them a real life understanding of what that looks like early on, was kind of the goal. And so we have to, you know, raise money for ingredients, things like that. And the restaurant's paying for some of it, and the students help. And I'd come up with this idea. We had these food trucks. I'm like, well, let's run a food truck. We've got it. It's just sitting here. Let's run a food truck. We'll take all the money that we make in the food truck, and we'll use that to, you know, pay our way to the competition. And so we created a menu, set it all up. I bought the ingredients, and we parked that thing outside of West High in the parking lot. And the students, the team, you know, got to run the truck.
Yeah.
We made like, I don't remember. It was like $3,500 in like 4 hours.
Wow.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Just with, I'm talking with
Slang in
like
food.
15-year-old kids. We were slamming.
You're like, I'm gonna need to borrow
that.
this food truck
Right.
every day.
And it was then that I realized that I'm hanging out the window and I'm talking to the principal, and these kids are slamming, and their friends are in the parking lot, just going bananas over these guys. And it was that was when I realized, like, this is the future. You have to, like, I represent so much more, and these kids represented so much more themselves in a platform where they were out front, owning their own work, and being involved in the process instead of having that gap of being behind the line where you don't see them. That it really started to make me kind of think, like, this is the future of, you know, this is the brand. We've created a brand, and now these kids know. I mean, they have friends. They're not super nerds, but they were definitely like a niche group of people. Everybody knew who they were.
Yeah.
You know, they were the ones banging out the Cubanos in the parking lot, you know, and it was such a huge eye opener for me of, like, you can create, like, in today's world, it's all about, you know, everything's social media and everybody's creating an image, and food is such a visceral platform to create such a cool brand.
Yep.
And your personality, so much of it.
Right.
Well, you see with these like these shows they have, there's a million shows that they have, and chefs are like superstars now.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
And none of us know how to be. Like, we're all still awkward and drink too much. And like,
Drink too much. You're sitting in the kitchen all hours of the night and day, coming up with things, and you're all overweight a little bit because you're eating, and
Eating
and
good
here you
food.
are, you know, a superstar.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I actually built he's seen it. I built a smoker. I'm a big fan of barbecue.
Oh, now we're talking.
I don't know if
Bring
you
the
guys have ever
smoker
seen
up.
it.
Let's
So-
bring the smoker up on the screen. This thing is.
Oh, I
epic.
did. I saw it.
Oh, it's
Okay.
like a custom built.
Well, I helped.
Okay.
I have a buddy who he owns a fabrication shop. I grew up with him, Tyler, and he owns
good buddy to
Rad
have.
Fab. And he actually was like the mastermind of putting it together. I was just like hey, I have this idea. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm gonna go find some scrap metal and like let's make something happen. I'll make some food for you.
And that's what you need to do. You got to collaborate with other people that have skills.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't
Yeah.
do it all ourselves.
And he did such a stand up.
Is this it here?
That's it. Yeah.
Dude, that thing is a
wow.
beast. What'd you take? A couple a big
Yeah.
barrel?
It's 2 500-gallon propane tanks, which I've learned are damn near impossible to find. You can't buy them used, right? And a new one's like, I don't know, $3,500. And I was like, I got $900. Like, so
We've got a budget here.
After like 8 months of racking my brain,
Look at that thing.
I bought scrap metal.
Oh, I see it now.
That's how it went down.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you used an old propane
Old
bottle
propane
that's
can.
already
Yeah.
like cast iron.
Yeah,
All
it's all
rusty
half-inch thick.
and
Yeah.
Oh, so I can get good and hot.
It's almost the idea of people that used to make wood burning stoves for their cabin,
Yeah.
like with the thing, but you just translate it into.
So it's like a full on. I don't know if you've heard of Aaron Franklin's barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the god of barbecue, in my opinion.
He's in Austin.
He's an awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. This is a pretty much his model.
Okay.
The way he, like, I bought his book, and I'd always kind of been into barbecue and done a bunch of different things, and I really like the idea of offset. And just through trial and error, I've sort of learned that for my personal flavor, that thing creates a ton of, I don't know, it's called vectoral force or whatever, but it's got a wind flow through it, and everything's cylindrical. So that wind flow, right, it just kind of tunnels through it. So you've got like, I don't know, 3 or 4 mile per hour winds going through that thing. I mean, it pulls hard, and the amount of smoke versus the amount of air flowing over the meat, to me, is just, it's perfect.
It's
right?
balanced.
Right. It's not too smoky, but you get this great pellicle, like you get a great crackle on whatever you're doing, right? Like pig, things like that. Like that air pulls that moisture. It keeps that chamber moving. And it just, to me, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so it took us about 1.5 years. We built it in my backyard, like put it all together. And it's been so much fun.
That thing is sick. And for people that are just listening to this podcast, we do have a YouTube version. We will be putting all these pictures and these little videos up so that you can see this monster grill. Does this grill have a name?
No?
Ooh, we're good at naming things here.
Wow. Good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the Gila monster.
The Gila monster.
Gila? Interesting.
That's a good one.
So, Adam, what's your Instagram handle?
Is it Chef Marcum, I think?
Yeah, Chef Marcum. So anyone
Chef
interested?
Underscore
Marcum.
Marcum.
Yeah.
And Marcum with a U. So Chef underscore MARCUM.
I'm so horrible with social media. I could do a bunch of cool stuff all the time, but I never capture it because I'm always doing
In the
it.
moment, yeah.
Right. My fiance, I'm always like, why are you always taking pictures? And she's like, you got to capture this stuff. You got to capture this stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna appreciate it. And I'm like, no, some things are just for me. And then, she'll pop up an Instagram memory or something. And I'm like, oh, that was so cool. And she's like, see, that's what I told you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's right.
of course, right.
So on Adam's Instagram, you can scroll down and see where they're fabricating his smoker and then how they lifted it in the yard and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, it's all random.
And your badass truck like mine. You still got the Toyota?
Yeah, the Hefe.
El Jefe.
Little
You see,
taco.
man, I got the same. You probably seen my truck outside.
Yeah.
The black, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Hefe with an H because
El Jefe.
white people don't know the difference. That and somebody took the original.
Oh, hey, Daniel, scroll up a little bit. Right there above, like I think there's like a red hot sauce. Scroll down. Right, stop.
Yeah.
Right above, there's the welder. What
yeah.
was your boy's name?
Tyler Radford. He has Radford Fabrication.
Radford.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's a bad dude. I mean, he's a hustler. He owns BB's Coffee Shop.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah, he runs that, and then his family. He's got all of his brothers and sisters working for him. He's got the whole family jamming. But he does.
Sweet.
He owns that, and then he opened up. He used to be a journeyman welder, and he opened up his own business, and he does. I mean, smokers and rails, and I mean, you name it.
Yeah, I should hit
he's
him
on
up
top
for
of
some
it.
hot dog work.
Right? Yeah, he's
yeah.
the guy.
No, I gotta say something. I have not I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I have not found the legit barbecue in Anchorage. Can we be?
There isn't one.
Can we? Okay.
Well, not to take away from Jack and Turnigan, but
Or the smokehouse girl, and I see her all the time.
I would
at the
say
thing.
there's not a top tier like specialized barbecue in Anchorage.
Let's say there's room for growth.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're just waiting for you, Adam, to just
You
take
know,
it over, Dom.
There is some good barbecue, and I mean it's a cool thing to do. I just don't know.
I mean, I know there's people doing awesome barbecue,
yeah.
but there's not like an actual business or a truck or a brick and mortar location where it's like they got the bomb.
Right.
Where there's
Bombist.
the line on,
Yeah.
before it opens type thing to get that days. Like
Well,
Franklin's
part of me
is.
thinks it's the meat we get, right? And I think and another chunk of it is the access to the wood we have, right? So like we're not using post oak. We're not using these hardwoods that you can control your burn. Like mine, you basically, for me to do like a whole pig, we're talking 14, 16 hours. That's like we're camping, we have to, we're every 15 minutes,
You're on
we're
it the
on
whole
top
time.
of it. And I use alder out of Homer.
Oh, nice.
That's just what I like to use. People use birch and all kinds of stuff, but I'm a big fan of the alder. But it's not. It burns hot, so your temperature control is super hard to stay on top of. So I mean, I've got it pretty well dialed. We just stay up all night and sip on whiskey and take turns stoking the fire. And
Yeah.
the tradition of it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's a big chunk of it. It's just not having the resources to do.
And with any grill, you got to learn it. You got to do it, and just know that this gets hot, super hot at this time, and it's cooler here, or hotter there, and the smoke times, and all that. Like, I mean, my brother-in-law is big into the temperature and the push it and the put your finger on it and check it. And I'm like, I just look at it, and then I know because I know my grill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just look at the
Yeah.
thickness of this meat, and I'm like, this needs about 7.5 minutes versus 8 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that kind of the same lines, what's up with the pastrami? Shouldn't we have Alaska-made pastrami around? I haven't found a place with Alaska-made pastrami yet. Have you?
Not that I know of. I'm sure somebody. I mean, we've done it. I've done it, but it's never been a staple, to be honest.
Yeah, we need one of those pastrami.
Well, I know that
bellies.
Indian Valley does. They make their pastrami out of game meat, and that's really, really good.
Yeah.
But you're right. There isn't like a crazy.
There's not like the Cat's Deli style where
Yeah,
you're cooking it right
specialized
there.
in that.
You go, I want that one. Oh,
Yeah.
let me actually
Right.
taste that one before I eat it. Yep, that one's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so
think
step it up,
everyone's good
Anchorage.
enough,
Let's
but-
get some. Let's get some barbecue
Everybody
and
gonna
some
get in
pastrami
there?
going. And actually, let's put it right next to Rustic Goat because it's right by my house.
Yeah, I will say I really like Jack's
Walking
Turnigan,
distance.
so
Yeah.
I
No, the
like
Turnigan's good. No,
Turnigan
I want to
on
say
pig.
for what
Jack's
it is,
doing a
it's
good
good. But
job.
like you go outside to Texas and you go to Tennessee and you go to these places, it's just like
Oh,
it's man, I
Yeah.
don't, it's another level.
you can
know?
taste it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
another
you just
level.
taste it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and as an example, like for ice cream, like there's regular ice cream and certain ice cream, and then there's Wild Scoops ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, there's just like levels of there's Costco hot dogs and there's Anchortown dogs. There's this
Yeah.
kind of cider and there's double shovel cider. You know, there's
Yeah.
levels to this game, and I feel like there's room for someone that can still come and take over the game in barbecue.
We're getting
Yeah.
back to pinnacles here.
Yeah, let's go to
Yeah,
the
get to
we
the
need someone
top.
let's
More
get to the
pinnacle
pinnacle
talk.
real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a moment here, take a break to give a shout out to our sponsors. We were talking about smoke and hot and fire. Actually got me thinking about Tailored Restoration. They are specialists in fire damage, flood damage, home restoration, remodels. Been around a long time. They'll work directly with insurance companies on insurance claims. Pretty much your go-to in the event you have a home loss or just looking for a remodel or a cleanup. They got all the tools and the people and the know-how, and most importantly, the professional service. Tailored Restoration.
Yep. The Anchorage number is 344-1239. Go ahead and give them a call. They also got numbers for the Valley, Eagle River, and Fairbanks. If you're in Fairbanks, it's 455-1239. So these guys are servicing all over the state, not just Anchorage. So if you got something, even a cabin or something happened out there in the woods, these guys will come out there and take care of you. So definitely check out Tailored Restoration, for any of your home remodel needs, or if something bad happens, as normally does, earthquake repair, anything like that, call these guys up. They'll take care of you. Jack, you had
Oh yeah, we have
something you wanted to take care of?
So Adam's a huge fan of Double Shovel. We're lucky to have him. So we brought him a hat.
Sweet.
Those are sick.
Pick your hat. We got 2 of our new models there.
I like this one.
No, you can't pick that one.
And then we have that's the one Katie said you were gonna pick too.
Well,
That's the one I would
white
pick.
and me, I destroy anything white. It always ends up that color, anyways.
So dark hat's this way to go.
All right.
And then Alaska Wild Project hat.
Sweet.
Make sure you
Yeah.
represent. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
But since we weren't sure which hat Adam would pick, we have a hat for Daniel and Brandon, but only one. So we're gonna play a little game. So a little trivia, Alaska style.
Ooh.
So
What if we tie? Can we
Stiff
leg wrestle it?
yeah, Ty is leg wrestling for sure.
Dude, I got this video of my sister-in-law and my wife leg wrestling, intoxicated on 4th of July weekend.
course.
Oh. After recording, we'll have to throw it up on the TV. It's pretty entertaining.
Oh, you got it on video?
Yeah. It's
That's
classic.
Great.
It's a classic.
That's great. Women leg wrestling.
yeah.
I think
yeah.
they got to bring that back to like the Olympics. Like leg wrestling is
Yeah.
a legit
I was like,
sport, isn't it?
I imagine if we look it up, there's probably some hardcore competitions.
Yeah. I mean,
Somewhere
they got the slap
underground.
competition.
that seems like a thing you'd see in Russia.
yeah. You
There
know
it
they're
is.
doing out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
In Kamchatka.
Dude's
Yeah.
just got like one leg that's just
The thunder thigh.
enormous
All those
thunder
hockey
thigh.
boys up there.
Yeah.
With the,
The Thunder Thigh, yeah. Different
All right.
cultures for sure rock that. All right.
What'd you have in mind, Jack?
So our first question here is this is legit statistics or
Oh man.
well not
make sure this
Which-
guy isn't looking on his
So the-
Siri.
so Alaska has a bunch of rivers, and the longest river is the Yukon.
Correct.
What is the second longest river?
Koyukuk.
One strike, Daniel.
The Tanana.
2 strikes. Well, 1 strike for Brandon.
Kuskokwim.
You got it.
So that's what I meant to say.
I wish
knew
I
it
was
a
playing.
I knew it started with a K.
Yeah.
You already got 2 hats.
I would have had 3.
All right. Maybe we should let him
Well,
play
no, you
then.
could put your hat up for throw it in for a bet there.
Yeah.
All right. The next one's
okay.
a little history. After Alaska became a state, who was our first governor?
Hammond.
1 strike.
I don't even.
Go.
Man,
I'm just full
Hey.
blank. I have no clue.
hey Brandon.
Lifelong Alaskan has no clue who the first governor is.
Hey Brandon. Center punch this one.
Center punch. This one.
Center punch.
Yeah.
Hold on, give it a second.
Yeah.
God, the people listening.
Sorry
like,
to
these
disappoint
guys,
you, Jack.
These idiots. You know it?
I'm not gonna say whether I do or not. It sounds better if I don't.
All right. Well,
Hold on. I know it. I do. I know it. No,
we
it's
can
not
skip
Hammond.
this one. I have a fourth question that we can throw in.
Okay.
Call this one. You know what this one is, Adam?
I don't know that one either.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is Egan, Governor Egan,
Egan.
like the Egan Center.
Oh, Egan
Yeah.
Center.
I assumed it was named after something, but I was
Well,
like,
yeah, but
don't
what?
think
There's
we,
a million
uh,
things named after Alaskan guys.
right.
Now
I
we
was
know.
trying to
Egan.
ESPN. Yeah,
Egan.
there.
Okay.
Egan, first governor.
First governor. What year is that? That was.
74 ish. We got the intro that says when we were signed in.
That's what I was checking.
Go ahead and
you guys.
rewind this. It'll tell you the year.
Should we talk about the Louisiana Purchase again?
We got all the knowledge on that, though.
All right. So, well, we're skipping over a second question. All right.
All right.
The next one is how many lakes are in Alaska? And it's whoever gets closest without going over, kind of like the Price is Right style. How many lakes in Alaska? This is named and unnamed lakes.
I'm going to go with, you have a guess?
I
I'm going to
was
let
just
you guess
thinking
first.
No, you go.
It's
You
like the
were-
showcase showdown here. I
Yeah.
want to guess below what you're going to guess.
Pressure's on. I know.
I'm going to go with 2,500.
2,500
way
lakes.
low.
2,500
Way
lakes.
beyond. That's crazy low.
Low?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's see what you got then.
I was thinking like 750,000.
All right. That's your
Yeah.
where you're going with? Not
Yeah.
going over?
$750,000.
3 million. So Brandon got that one.
3 million?
3 million. Yeah, oh yeah.
That was way low.
Yeah.
You know what? I was even thinking a million number, and I was like, I don't want to sound like a total idiot.
Yeah.
Even though when you look at a map, there's
Well,
water
there's the
spots
land of a
everywhere.
million lakes, or what's that? Where's that at?
That's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're way bigger than that. I don't know why. What did I say? 2,500?
He said 2,500.
Jesus.
Well, if you look at just
There's 2,500 between
Here and
Los.
West
yeah.
You
Or,
ice fished on all of them.
Jesus.
or like an aerial view of like Lake Louise area.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2,500 just in a little pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go on those Yukon flats. There you go. You
Jackie
won it.
boy.
So
thank
Brandon 2, Daniel 0. And,
Nice.
yeah, good job, buddy.
Ooh,
Yeah, represent.
Yeah. Wear that
Like
when you
it,
go to
bro.
a Rustic Goat.
Can I get those nachos?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie though, I like Adams. That thing is fresh.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe you guys can leg wrestle for a switch.
See what your leg wrestling skills are like.
Yeah.
Just bring it in. I'll trade you out.
Yeah.
All right.
So we didn't hear where the inspiration was for you becoming a chef, Adam.
To be honest, I don't even know. I mean, I do remember the first time I told somebody I was going to be a chef, I was like 15. And it was my girlfriend at the time, and her dad is this construction worker guy, and he was just totally blew me off. He's like, well, that's not a real job. And I'm like, okay,
They don't want
And,
Carhartts there.
right. And
Have you seen my future smoker?
right. But I did know. I knew I was creative. I knew like super young that I had ideas and I was creative and I wanted to work in a field that I could think and create and develop. And I didn't know what that was. Like, I kind of bebopped around. I did like youth court and
Yeah.
did a little bit of welding and worked on cars and things like that. And I did the KCC program. I needed to pick up classes. And so I went and did culinary. I'm like, oh, let's give it a whirl. And just killed it. Like, loved it. It was, I liked working with fire and I liked the idea of transforming things. And I was like, I could do this. And so I'd started talking to the chef who was the teacher there. And he happened to be a neighbor of one of my buddies that I went to high school with. And I did 2 years with him in his class. And we graduated and we had went down to the Russian River to just, party and celebrate being done in high school. And he had come down with my buddy's parents. And we sat down one night and, we were drinking and pulled out a joint and we were, just talking about life. And I'd asked him about the, the chef world because he had been a chef at, where was he? He was at Saks like way back in the day.
Oh wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had talked about, I had asked him like, what's it like being a chef, and he kind of told me the whole story of the culture, the cuisine, like just the whole industry. And I remember at that point being hook, line, and sinker. I was like that. Yep. That's me.
Yeah.
Late nights, drinking whiskey, making cool food, being in the action, 1,000 miles an hour all day long. Like I was hook, line, and sinker. And from there, it was just no turning back. Went to Colorado.
You went to school to chef, or are you self-taught?
I did.
Chef-taught.
I didn't make it through, which my kids now give me grief for. I didn't quite make it through. The big city was a lot more than I was ready to handle. So
yeah.
I did a couple of years down there, learned a lot, came back, and ended up going up. I worked for Crowley, worked on the Yukon.
Wow.
And went up and down doing that as longshoreman, and then built some ice roads up on the slope for like a year. Well, that year, and then came back and had a little bit of money in my pocket, and then went into working for Glacier Brewhouse in Orsos.
Nice.
So, because I knew it was going to be tough. I mean, it's they tell you like you're never going to make money in this industry until you own your own business or become a chef. And so, I'd kind of braced myself for that, and had set myself up to be able to make the $12 an hour or whatever it was when we got into it. But yeah, once I got into it, and I don't want to say competitive, but once I saw what was going on, and it's like jumping into jump rope. Once you got into the rhythm, you're like, okay, I want to do what that guy's doing.
Yeah.
I want to know how he did that. you know, and it just went nuts. My brain kind of went on fire, and it just was a blur for like 10 years.
Yeah. And it's a fun environment. I mean, if you've never worked in a restaurant, I mean, I've done a lot of busboying and different things growing up in restaurants. It's a full, I mean, you don't make the money, but you make the experiences, and you eat a lot of good food, and there's always like cute girls walking around, and it's more of a lifestyle culture that you kind of get embedded in, and you get used to that vibe that 100%. Happens.
And what's crazy to me is what always throws me off is, I think about it, like I was telling him, we were talking about sharing recipes, and he's like, "Are you cool with sharing some ideas?" And I'm like, "No, that absolutely. Nothing I own, nothing I've created belongs to me, right?" I feel like what I do, my creativity is designed to be shared, right? And so I'm not I have no problem giving away ideas or concepts or recipes. I just don't feel like, to me, it just seems like it's counterintuitive to not share your creativity, right? But what it is it's a trade, right? It's a trade. It's a skilled trade. And I think of it in terms of, you become an electrician or a welder or any of these other trades, and there's obviously tons of things you learn, and after years and years and years, you obviously become a master of your craft. Well, with culinary, it's the same thing. You can spend your whole life learning one cuisine and become a master of that skill set, and then move to Thailand and not know how to make anything.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so this industry is huge, and it's literally a skilled craft, but it's not treated like such. We don't have unions. We don't have, pay protection. We don't have anybody backing us. There are small pockets that have unions, but I mean, it's the only skilled trade that is not backed by a union.
Yeah.
And that's always thrown me off.
Yeah, that's right. I never thought about that. But I think that with these classes that are going on at KCC, I think maybe the culture is shifting, that maybe that could be something that is recognized as that. And you mentioned something that you said you could go to Thailand and not cook. And you could be a chef at a restaurant that is able to cook this wide variety of things, and you're a renowned chef. And you can also be good at one thing and also be just as renowned for that. For example, Alan Franklin with the barbecue.
Right.
Yep. So you can be a wide spectrum of French cuisine or Mexican cuisine, or you could be, make the baddest one thing, ceviches or whatever it may be. Tacos. And there's room for all that. Yeah.
Well, and Aaron Franklin, I read his book, and I've done a ton of research on the guy. He's not even a chef. He's just some guy that liked barbecue, and he was kind of a nerd about it, and he just started working on it. And he talks about buying a brisket and then inviting people over and being like, "Hey, come over. It's a $10 donation. Try my brisket and tell me what you think." And that's how it started, right? And he goes from making a brisket once every 2 or 3 weeks and having his friends come over to crafting that and skill to now he's putting in, 380 briskets a day.
Wow.
With a line out the door, and he's selling them out every single day.
That's crazy.
And he's like, "I'm not a chef." I just figured out this one thing. And you're like,
that's awesome.
God, I'm working.
Well, there's, people get this idea of this chef in this white top with this white jacket and doing all this fancy shit, whereas that's a chef, you know what I'm saying? But you know who else is a chef? This guy who made his own barbecue in his backyard and has this recipe that's amazing. You're on the same plateau as that other chef, in my book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, it's kind of like similar to music. Everybody's music is a different depiction of the art that they love or are passionate about.
Right.
Such as culinary. You know?
Well, I'd rather be called an artist at this point. If I'm not going to have a union back me, then I'll be an artist.
Culinary
you know
artist,
what I mean?
yeah.
That's to me, that seems like the way to go. I mean, but I don't know.
It is. It's a mix of artistry and, like you said, a trade. Yeah, it could be.
I like it how you worded it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially for the guys that have doing it 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
I mean, guy dedicated his life to that. A lot of respect.
Right.
And, skills and all the hard work and ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
Guys that have bought restaurants, they tanked, tried again, it took off. I mean, there's a lot of success and failure in it.
Endless stories of people that have gone
Man.
up and down and all around with different ideas in restaurants and things like that.
And it also seems like you can do it later in life, right? You can do something for 20 years and say, hey, I really want to do barbecue.
Right. Well, for Fire Island, right?
Yeah.
Janice and her husband are both retired. I think she was a teacher and he was a...
I think she
Or it was reversed.
she
I
was
can't
like
remember.
a chemical engineer, I think, on the slope, right?
No, she was a teacher because she was
Okay.
actually my fiance's teacher. And then her husband was a park ranger.
Yeah.
I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was what it was. But they both retired, like did their careers, retired, went around and were like, hey, we're going to start a bakery, and figured out what they wanted and the expectation they wanted, and just killing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're
they're killing
it.
absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
Another chapter. They love it.
Yeah. And their kids are
revitalize
involved.
them.
And
Yeah.
so
That's cool.
They got that nice startup in, Brewery Row, next to King Street. All right, we're going to take a second to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Treehouse AK, 341 Boniface Parkway. This is your all-in-one CBD and cannabis store. So we've talked about this on the show before, but getting older, sheep hunting, doing a lot of crazy stuff with our bodies and running our dogs hard. The CBD oil is awesome, super therapeutic, comes through and really helps with inflammation. They also have the money cannabis, their buds and their edibles. They have highly trained bud tenders and managers that can speak to the point and very passionately about their product. Josh Boots, the owner, he's a supporter of ours and an outdoor guy, AK life guy, family guy. So go support Josh down there on Boniface, thetreehouseak.com. Ask for the strain of the day and get 10% off.
Nice.
I want to get into game cooking, like experiences of you hunting. Or do you go hunting and fishing and do all that kind of? Obviously, growing up in Alaska, you can't avoid it.
yeah, no, I'm definitely.
So I want to get
Alaskan
into
boy
some
for
of the
sure.
things that you like. What kind of adventures are you doing in the summer? What kind of trips are you doing? Do you have any hunting trips lined up? What's your outlook for 2021?
So we have a cabin about 55 miles west of here, out in the middle, on the other side of Sleeping Lady.
Oh, nice. You got to fly out.
Yeah, so my dad's got a plane. I'm currently working on getting my license. But we've been working on that place for 20 years now. I think he bought it in 90-something, 98, 96. Anyways, we bought this remote cabin. And let me preface this. My dad is a wild man. Like, he's an animal. He is. He moved up here in 76. He's his first moose hunt, they fly out somewhere. They drop him off with the first load. They go to come back. Well, the pilot was his boss, didn't have a pilot's license, ends up crashing the plane and goes to the hospital. So nobody knows he's out in the bush. He spends a week out there, right, with no tent, nothing, just, basically his backpack and a gun, shoots a moose and sleeps in the hide, right?
Oh, full Revenant style?
Yeah, full on, right? and
Wow.
and this has never said it, but enjoyed it. Like, he is just a wild man. Like, he has embraced Alaska full on, and solo sheep hunts, back in the 80s, all over the place. Just wild. So I was fortunate enough to grow up with that. We've been hunting and fishing and doing crazy stuff basically my whole life. Like my kids, it's nothing for them to jump in a plane and, land on a mountain or, get in a boat and go chase fish or do whatever. And we're super fortunate for him to be able to give us that opportunity.
Yeah, it's
But
perfect.
we got this cabin long time ago, and we had an original A-frame. Well, I guess he was burning trash or something, the same old story. Thought the fire was out. He ended up leaving, got stuck on the flats, and the whole thing lit up. And we're talking, 400 gallons of gas, couple of 100-gallon propane tanks. Lost everything. 10 acres, burnt everything to the ground. We went out, cleaned it all up, and we've been rebuilding ever since. We now have the original 2024 we built. We built a barn and we've been for the last 10 years building a cabin, which is more of a retirement home. It's like 5,000 square foot. It's huge.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah, I
Oh,
think
my
there's a limit
goodness.
where it goes from cabin to chalet.
If you fly that direction, you'll
lodge.
see it. I mean, it is absolutely insane. And we built it all by hand. I mean,
Wow.
we heli dropped a John Deere tractor out there. I dug the foundation. We took sand from the creek and shoveled it by hand into bags to use for concrete fill to fill the foundation.
Yeah.
Cut the lumber, hauled it in, milled it ourselves.
Wow.
We bought land beams and all that stuff, but snow machine out, 30,000 pounds a winter. Just like I said, he's an absolute animal.
Getting after it.
Yeah. And we are, as of this year, pretty much finished. We're sheetrocking and we're mud and taping. And, but I mean, like, you got 1,800-pound land beams that we took boat winches and built these jigs and put them on top of the walls and cranked these things up to set these land beams. Like, just MacGyver all the way, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
Like,
what else could you
there's
do?
nothing
Yeah.
we can't figure out.
You got pictures?
I do. They're on my phone. but,
Okay. No, we'll get the pictures and we'll throw them up on the YouTube version of this so that people can see the chalet you got building there over there.
It's crazy. Like when I quit the restaurant, I was unemployed when COVID hit, and I learned how to scribe logs. So the whole staircase is all scribed logs and everything like that.
Nice.
It's a cool spot. But we're out in the thick of it, right? That's where I shot that grizzly. Is
Yeah.
out the front
I
door.
got to thinking
Right.
about that. Yeah.
So we do every year we get a moose. It's general harvest out there, and we get our man pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So that's always tradition to go out. This year I went and got one. I think it was in 3 days. Went out, dropped me off, hammock, tarp, gun, get it done. I had no time off, so I was like, okay, we're gonna get this done. So
Yeah.
but we'll do that, and then spring bear. I bow hunt every spring.
Are you baiting or?
Yeah, we bait. We do it with a bow. I've killed enough to the point where I'm kind of, now it's just more of, I enjoy taking other people out, and it's 50-50 whether we're taking pictures or shooting bows. But
And the kids will be ready soon.
they're close. Yeah.
And this is all at the cabin?
Yeah.
The property over there?
Yeah, everything's right on the property.
Yeah.
So, but this year we drew for, we got a Meadow Creek goat, and we got an East
nice.
Fork bow hunt for sheep.
Nice.
So we'll be doing that. Yeah.
Oh, lucked
You and
out this
Pops
year.
or?
My dad did. Yeah, he got them both. So
Nice.
Oh, damn. Wow.
Bag boy.
he's so lucky. He's always drawn.
Oh, he's one of those guys?
Yeah.
He must work for Fish and Game.
Right? Yeah, or pays him. I don't know. He got a bison a couple of years ago, and I mean, he's always getting tags. I get skunked. I'm always skunked.
Yeah. We all
So,
strike out too.
It's called donation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Alaska game meat?
Honestly, moose has been my jam, because I've transitioned from, like, we all like shooting stuff, right? I think that's the hunt is awesome, but we've gotten to the point where I've bagged enough animals that now it's more of a, like, it's an artistic approach. Like, I want the full, like, my goal, we were talking about this, my goal is I want a full, I tried doing it last year, but I couldn't because the moose I'd shot dumped himself in a swamp. So I had to basically carve him from the top down to get him out. But ideally, I want to take a full moose and do a vlog, like a video series of start to finish, taking him in the fields to butchering out the right way, like a butcher would, where you're getting your brisket, you're getting your flanks,
roast
you're getting your ribeyes and your sirloins. Like, I butcher it to where you're getting actual cuts of meat like beef, and then properly packaging, and then doing recipe series with everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like doing carnitas with the tongue, and doing making like pho broth with the bones,
Yeah.
and using the coal fat to like confit garlic or whatever that may be that we're doing, but to do a video series of basically utilizing every part of that animal and doing it in a way that an Alaskan can go, okay, I see you. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do, I understand the concepts. I understand the technique, and you're getting a better utilization out of that product. Because I grew up with, we'd shoot a moose and we'd get 500 pounds of ground beef. And it's like, how much ground beef can you eat before you get bored? We're roasting, we're smoking roast, and we're eating ribeyes, and we've got fillets, and we're doing, flank steak tacos. And it's upped the game for wild game consumption for me.
Up the game for wild game.
Up the game.
Yeah.
And well, if there's something that we can help you out with that, we'd love to get something vlog going on like that. And I think we're talking to Jake about doing a pilot vlog. It'd be really cool to have like a, 0 to 100 on the full, from getting the animal to the end.
Right.
I think the people would really love that. And as Alaskans who cook game meat, every day, whether it's seafood or anything from Alaska that we harvest, always looking for new recipes or new ways and new ideas, because you feel like you get stuck in the same kind of deal that you do week in, week out, that you know what to do. But if you have the video and you have the instructions and you already have the piece of meat ready to go, I mean, I think people would 100% utilize that.
Yeah, the know-how to be able to watch you work through things that we aren't doing with our meat. I mean, most of us we're staking it out. We get some roasts, and the rest of it's just going into a processor. If we could see some other things, I mean, it would just open so many more doors, and then our families are going to enjoy these meals, so they're not this repetitive thing that we have every week, and they'll just be more on game with eating wild game.
Right.
It sounds incredible.
Well, and again, it's the nuances of how you do it that make the difference, right? I probably waste more meat up front than most people do, but my concept is if I clean that product to where we're going to eat 100% of what we clean, you're ending up with a better yield than you would be if you have a product that's too gamey for your wife to eat, or it's too gamey for your friends to eat, right?
It just gets thrown away.
So, like, you guys come over, if I were to make you a roast or to make you guys steaks, you wouldn't even know it's moose. There's a noticeable difference, but it's richer. It's not gamey. Yeah. And once I figured that out, it changed everything. It was like, okay.
Well, I think that's a fear that a lot of new families or new hunters or new Alaskans on eating these type of meats and these type of animals, is that it's going to be gamey or whatever, but really, the techniques are out there. The knowledge is out there on how to cook this stuff and how to deal with this stuff so that it tastes better than beef or anything that you've had before. And there's simple tricks to do it. And whereas if you do that every time, it's going to be as great as anything else you've ever had. And the kids and the children will enjoy it, and your family will enjoy it. And you're not going to do like what I did the first time with the caribou. I had no clue, and I just took this rib and just threw it on the grill like it was a beef rib, and that was not the way to do it. And we learned the hard way. Real chewy, like yeah. So there's some steps there that I missed, whereas if the information is out there and people are willing to give a little bit of learn a little bit on how to do it, you're going to enjoy what you brought home.
Right. Well, and it's funny, you ask most people, you go, hey, have you ever had wild game or moose? And I bet you it's a coin toss that they go, yeah, I have, but it was just when I had it, it wasn't very good. I've heard that time and time and time again, and I'm thinking that I see how it happens, but if you can eliminate that, you open a whole world of possibilities.
Oh,
it really does. Like, my kids will eat moose over like beef any day, and I unfortunately have I'm spoiled, I guess, right? So I know what's good. So we buy Wagyu, right? Or we're buying tomahawks, or I don't go and just buy choice. I just can't do it. I just live too long in this world that we eat good. We eat really well. Yeah. And, but yeah, my kids are so ingrained in it. This is how they've grown up, and they will eat moose and pretty much anything. Which is great.
Yeah. Well, it comes to a point where same thing with my kids, like they've grew up on caribou and moose and sheep and different things like that. Whereas if we'll do the same exact recipe, let's say we ran out of caribou or whatever, and we'll do the same recipe with beef, they notice. They're like, this is different.
Yep.
This doesn't taste this good. Yep. Like, what is it?
Where's the flavor?
Where's the flavor?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Where's the juice? Right. That's missing.
Yeah. And it's something that even my wife growing up, she didn't eat a lot of game meat, but until we got married, and I was like, this is what we're doing. We're not going to Costco and spending all this money and all this meat when I can go get it. And it took her some time and training to adjust to it, but I think that transition can be made even anyone out there that's just starting to get into hunting or fishing or anything like that, like you can make that transition as long as you take some of the key elements on how to prepare this correctly.
Right.
And you kind of have to do it together to show them like what
Yep.
you're doing
Yep.
different and why that's important. And you kind of own that process together. I found that if you don't own that together and do it together, you don't see the same results. There's like this if,
Right.
like, oh, I don't
Yep.
know. If
Well, and my kids are like, they're full part of the process, right? Like I had, like my oldest, both of them, you know, they're in the backpack when we're butchering stuff out. I mean, they're right in the center of it. I got videos of them like this last year, and I've got one of them bagging, the other one's, you know, putting them in the vacuum packer, and the other one's working on his, you know, his date in the bags and everything. And they're a huge piece of that puzzle.
Nice.
Because it's important for them to see this and grow up with this. You know, it's my contribution to them as adults, and the pride they take in, you know, dad, this is our moose, huh? I'm like, yeah, yes it is. It absolutely is. You know, and it's a big difference to see them take accountability and reap the rewards of their work.
There's pride.
Yeah,
Pride
I
involved
mean,
in
we
that.
have chickens. It's the same thing, you know. That they take
Yeah.
care of the chickens, and they bring
Oh,
the eggs
yeah.
in, and they're like, "Can we cook the eggs? Those are our eggs. We did that, you know. We fed them, we watered them." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And it's that full circle responsibility that kind of, to me, I think is a lacking quality in the newer generations of, you know, you may not want to go out there and do it today, but it's your job, you know.
Yeah.
And we count on you to do your job for this household to continue to run and ease them into that, you know.
Sure.
I mean, they're young, so there are days that they're not going to do it, but you know, you ease them into that. And I think that ownership kind of creates that allure that moose, you know, that wild game is the best meat out there because all of the steps and the family bonding and the community that's behind that production.
Yeah. And I think we're
well
uniquely positioned up here in Alaska where as we have a wide range of variety in game, whereas if you're in Tennessee or Kentucky, I mean, you're pretty limited to turkeys or
Whitetail.
deer, whitetail and stuff like that. Whereas up here is we have this wide range of different game that produce different flavors, you know, so anyone here that's in Alaska, like, get after it. You're missing out. And I got lots of friends that aren't into the moose meat or into the sheep stuff, and because the same deal, they haven't really had it cooked for them. So I really enjoy saying, hey, well, come over and try this.
yeah, have you tried the mountain goat enchiladas? You know,
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think sheep's probably my favorite if I had to pick. But half the time, it doesn't even make it off the mountain. You know, we're eating it on the rocks before it even gets down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you know, that's once in a blue moon we get an animal like that. It's when I was younger, it was a commonplace, but I feel like it's a lot more of a lottery than it is a expectation.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. I mean, got to keep the population in check, and
Yeah.
you know, if I've got to wait my turn, that's
yeah, way
part
more
of sharing,
pressure
you know?
than we used to have.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance that needs to be. That is in ADFG. They're doing a great job on the research and the science on the numbers and as far as these draw permits and subsistent hunts that are going on.
right.
It's all for the better.
Yeah.
I have seen this work in real time. You know, we talk about the game management and it all makes sense on paper, but you know, you don't actually see the effects of it. I guess me personally has not seen the effects of it other than the allotment of draws that you can have. But we're off of the Alexander over here on the other side of Sleeping Lady. So we're about 15 miles up from there and then a little farther west. But, you know, when we were kids, you were ripping king salmon out of there left and right, right? I mean, for that account, one of the first kings I ever caught was underneath the bridge at Gallows, right on Arctic. But
There's some hogs in there, dude. There's some hogs in there.
Oh yeah.
but you know, they stopped altogether, stopped fishing,
Right.
and the pike population just got insane. They were, I mean, we're talking, you know, just monster
gators.
pike in there when I was a kid, and Fish and Game's been in there in the last like 10 years. They got a fish weir right there, right down from where we're at, and they've been netting pike, and I would say in the last probably 3 or 4 years, we're seeing species we've never seen. Like we're catching grayling, you know, we're catching 20-inch grayling.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen grayling in there since I was
Yeah.
ever, right? We're catching 20, 28-inch trout. We've got silvers in there. There's one hole we can catch everything. You don't know what you're pulling out
In one hole.
in one hole, and we go down with the kids, and they just slay all day long.
Oh, that's
and
great.
so we're seeing the benefits, and I think Fish and Game said they pulled out like 5,600 pike or something like that in the last 5 years, and
Wow.
noticeable difference. I mean, night and day difference from where we were.
Are you
10
seeing the
years ago.
Kings back too?
The Kings aren't back in numbers, but they're there. I think last year they had, I think full flow is like 4,000, and they were at like 900 or something.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're
Were they
still taking a hit, but they're
natural?
not. I believe so.
Yeah, that's great.
But
Yeah,
they
they're natural
spawn
in the
right there,
Alexander.
which is
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, we used to float the Alexander every year, like growing up. From
Yeah,
maybe
that was
I
the
was
hot
8
spot.
till 16, 8 years in a row, and then the pike hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could always, even when I was 8, 10 years old, catch pike in that lake.
Yeah. Did you come down from the lake?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Went from the lake down to the Susitna.
So you probably know exactly where it at. It's Ripon Ann. They've got a big old log cabin up on the hill.
Yeah.
And they have all the little cabins. They used to run a fishing lodge out of there back in the 80s.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
so we're not far from there.
Okay.
We're right in that area.
What? How many miles up there? The river?
I think it's 15 up the river.
15.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we're off the beaten path a couple of miles.
Okay.
So, but we've got trails. I mean, we've been out there for years, so
Yeah.
we've got trails all over.
It's a really cool community. I took my boat up there on a bull tag like 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize. I mean, I always heard all the stories, the Rust Flying Service and the fish camps and the lodges, and,
Right.
but I didn't realize the community, the road systems that people built,
Yeah.
cabin to cabin,
Oh, yeah.
back in there, and you're kind of part of that network
Yep,
a little
yep.
bit.
My dad's
Oh, cool.
totally ingrained in that network. Yeah.
Wow,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're a whole different breed out there. I mean, they've got your back for sure, no matter what's going
Yeah,
on.
I've heard.
Yeah. So it takes a while to get acclimated to that community. Like,
Yeah.
who's this guy and why are you out here? But my dad's he's worked his way in. So we're part of the river family.
Do they like
Nice.
cider?
Oh, I'm sure they do. yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were kids, we'd go down to Gabbert's, right?
I was just about to say
We'd-
that,
we'd
man.
snow
Ah,
machine
you
down
beat
to
me to it.
Gabbert's and
Yeah.
have breakfast at Gabbert's. And, it's this old timer. He's got a towel over his shoulder and an inch and a half of cigarette ash hanging off the end of his smokes. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. Best breakfast ever.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
You're so
Greasy
hungry. You're so
spoon, yeah.
stoked. You're just it was. Those were good times. For
What
sure.
is that, like a little lodge or something?
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
the party. He had the party house.
Yeah.
okay.
Gabbert's. Yeah, when fishing was over and the Rust Flying Service, everybody took all the Russians out of there, and the locals were settling in, and the folks that were staying at the cabins. I got this buddy of mine, John from Connecticut. His friend up here, Jack Peterson, they had a property out there, and he'd tell me all these cool stories about Gabbert's and
Oh yeah.
the boat fights and
Right. Yeah.
all the crazy stuff that went on, the airplanes bumping into each other, and just it was wild. And running up there 5-6 years ago, it was September, so it was quiet, but it was a ghost town.
Yeah. They're actually shut down completely now.
It was like going through an old western town
Yeah.
down an old dirt road, and everything was like shut down, but it was on a river.
Yeah.
You could tell that at one time there was this like
Yeah.
lively vibe of
They were the goat of the river, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then going through it, it's kind of like just a shell of
cool.
itself now.
You know, it'd be cool. We should really do, and we should maybe commission this to get done. There's so many when you're out in these wilderness experiences and even on the road of these old lodges that are dilapidated and broke down to make like a book,
Stuff out of it.
a book of something that just shows all these old lodges and maybe like have the picture of the lodge and then the picture of the menu.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, there's tons. I mean, off the beaten path, like
Sure.
Alexander Creek or like the one that burned down on Petersville,
Yep.
things like that. Or
Oh,
these
the
pictures
Roadhouse.
of these, you know, little history there of that and the menu and maybe like the chef or whoever
Yeah.
created it and the owner.
Yeah, that's pretty
that's
cool.
something. That's something that we should probably look into.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool, like a coffee table style.
Sick.
But
Love it. Yeah, Fat Albert's over in Beluga.
yeah, I mean, you could just start rattling them off right,
sure.
left, and
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
you know, all over the state.
Well, and it's sad because the lodge, the whole lodge thing is dying.
Right.
The roadhouses and like my parents and aunts and uncles, growing up. They did road trips to Eureka Lodge and to Glen Allen and down to Valdez. They just did a weekend road trip and just hit the lodges and partied.
Right.
And those don't even exist anymore.
Well, you got Costco coming in, you got these good coolers and all this cooking stuff you can bring, whereas you now bring your stuff. When back in the day, you just jump in the old, station wagon and roll out, and you just know that there's going to be a stop where you're going to go get the burger, or you're going to go to Eureka Bird House, and you're going to go to Glen Allen, and you're going to go up to Toke, and there's all these little spots on the way, these roadhouses, where you're right that's somewhat died, but man, it should be marked in history on some sort of pages as something that we could do.
Yeah, like the Sourdough Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Or, take out the Golcana every year, what they closed 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was a super historical one where it was on the old hiking trail out. Old Homestead Trail.
When we were kids, we spent a lot of time down at Summit Lake Lodge in the winter, snow machining out there. And that was always a hoot being back in there. And we did Christmas out there and 4th of July, or not 4th of July, New Year's, and light fireworks off and things like that. And yeah, it was a cool place. It was a really cool place.
Yeah, good old days.
So other than you starting a barbecue restaurant for us, what's some other plans that you got going? You told me that now you're at Charlie's.
I'm at Charlie's. I actually really like Charlie's a lot. It's nice to work for a company where there's like a positive culture, and there's always struggles, but it's a sustained forward progression with a team instead of just murder and chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have a structure and a team, and I've never worked in an environment that's been as professional, which is really, I didn't realize how the rest of the world operated. I was a little nervous walking out of a kitchen like, okay, I can't use the F-bomb in every conversation. What do you mean? But it's been really cool to sort of settle down a little bit, be around my family, focus on, being at home and spending time with my kids, because I wouldn't see them for, days on end. And next thing I know, they're 5 and 8 now. And it's like, man, I've missed half of it almost. And it scares me. So it was nice to take a step back, and this job's provided me a great platform to be able to be home and be involved. And so, for me, it's all it's sort of the side hustle. I want to do something creative that I can do when I want to do it.
Yeah.
I think the idea we were talking about, doing something like an oyster bar this summer, where my big thing is fermentation. I like to make hot sauces. I like to ferment stuff.
That's what I'm talking about.
I like to do cured meats, things like that. That's sort of been my focus recently in the last couple of years. But to do just something that I can totally have fun with.
Yeah.
Show up, minimal prep. You get to do some cool creative stuff. You get to engage with some people, have a good time. It gives me and my fiance something to do on a Friday night. We get to socialize, have a good time, because she's a restaurant too. And we both have actually stepped out. So we really miss that energy. We miss that community. We're both really super social. Yeah. So we'd like to do something that we can, just pop up, sell some oysters, have a good time, so do some local stuff.
Sounds like a blast.
And get out. But yeah, just, slowing down.
Yeah, well, the kids are you got such a small window when the kids are young, and you definitely want to be in there, and living that chef life and that restaurant life is not conducive to that family life.
Right.
I mean, it's long nights, early mornings, prepping and all that, and that's a smart decision that you guys made, but I can guarantee the itch is there.
Yeah. And we're going to do something. I mean, something that doesn't take away from me being able to do my regular job and make sure the bills are paid, but an outlet for us to be creative and have some fun. So,
well, as we start to create these live events, we've been hosting this game meet party every year, kind of privately, and as we begin to expand as COVID rules let us and do these live events, that's something that we could probably incorporate.
For sure, man. Yeah,
for sure. And we've been talking to Adam a bunch about doing some pop-up chefing over at our place.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can make that happen sometime, and Adam can get out there and get his vibe on for 2 or 3 days, but not feel like he's has to stick around. Like, you can go back to the family life. And
in that way, everybody wins. They have a good time. I have a good time. There's no pressure. So it's like you get to genuinely enjoy that moment you create.
Yeah.
That's money for me. That's where I think that's really where my focus is in the future, is creating, instead of trying to create a continual motion, to create moments that I get to live in that people are going to be like, that was dope. When are you doing that again? You know, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what's cool about it. Is like you don't know when it's going to happen, and when
Yeah.
it happens, it's going to be extra special.
Remember that time.
Yeah. And the smoker's always fun. Anytime I pull that thing out, it's
Things are
it's
beast.
funny. Like, so I've done it. So we did big parties at the Goat where we do whole hogs. We had, I don't know, 700 people.
Oh,
there
that
or
was the
something
one that you guys would bring out there and
Yeah.
do
Right.
huge
Block
thing.
party.
Oh,
Lock down the
okay.
park-
That was
parking
all
lot.
That
around
was the one that
smoker.
you built.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's funny because you put that thing out, no matter where it is, and it draws.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's a magnet.
Just people
yeah.
suck
It's a
to it.
magnet. So I've done it we did it in a
smells
neighborhood
good.
at my mother-in-law's house, like up in Bayshore, you know, in some super nice neighborhood, just out on the street, just barbecuing. And all the neighbors are coming out like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just making some ribs, you know. And next thing you know, you've got all the neighbors out and everybody's hanging out and drinking beer, and it creates its own world. It's so cool. And so, I mean, now it's just sitting at the house. Like we just moved into this house 2 years ago. And I think this summer we're going to pull it out, and I'm just going to, you know, call the neighbors and say, hey, let's, you know,
Do a little block party.
let's all meet and
Let's
greet,
get
you
it
know.
on.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can cook 500 pounds on it. So there's enough space to feed more people than I'll ever need to, you know, make it happen. So
Wow. Well, we definitely need to come up with some ideas to get that. Is that thing on a trailer or something? You can pull it around?
yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I just
I saw
pop
it
it
on
up behind the
top of the
truck and
trailer.
it's on its way.
We can name a lot of places it should go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, like, even just going down to, like, if you go down to Seward to go fishing for the weekend, you get home, you know, light that thing up when you're sitting in the parking lot and smoke some fish, you know, or just,
Yeah.
you know, just make it part of your weekend journey or whatever you're doing, and just integrate it into the fun you're having and take it with you. So
Yeah, it's that shared energy and passion, man. You just got to pass that along to everyone else around you so you can see what they got.
Get that Gila
bring
monster
it out.
Get the Gila grill out.
Gila.
The Gila grill.
What is what's one of the cool wild game smokes you've done?
cool wild game smoke. So I actually haven't done a lot of smoked wild game yet. I have a giant, probably like 8-pound backstrap that I'm gonna smoke this spring. So I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be pretty cool.
What's that off of, Adam?
It's off a moose.
It's off of Moose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's the most like economical way to get meat for me is getting a moose because I can pretty much get one every year. So that's mainly my wheelhouse is dealing with that.
That's from Old Swampy.
That's from actually this guy right here.
Oh, you got him on the arm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My
Oh,
wife
nice.
bagged a big one here a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, good for
Yeah.
her.
It was cool too. We called him in and he was in I was dragging her around and I'm like, let's just keep going. It's getting dark. And I'm like, one more spot. And she's like, all right, I don't want to do this. And we get into the swamp and it's like, 9:30. You can barely see. And I make a call and on the other side, it's like, I don't know, 300-400 yards out. You just see a paddle and you know when you see the right one, you're like, that's the guy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to see him. I just saw one paddle and was
That's a
like,
bagger.
that's
That's a
the
shooter.
guy. So then it's scramble mode, right? And I'm like, we gotta go. So it was kind of this opening, and we were on the right side, and he'd come out of the left, and it sort of jagged a little bit. So we ended up cutting over to the left to be on the same side he'd come out of, and we could then kind of come up around the corner to get on him. And we had snuck up, come around the corner, and I was wearing a Patagonia, like a white furry Patagonia coat. And so I just start, waving my arms and I'm grunting at him. And this dude's dead to rights. He's ready to go. And so he's waving his head and coming straight at us. And I'm like, all right, babe, you got to shoot. You got to shoot him. You got to shoot him. And he's getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
and
it's
he's
glucking the whole way.
yeah. And he's, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 yards away.
Oh, wow.
And he's coming.
It's intense.
And she's in front of me and he's still coming. And I'm like, you got to shoot. And finally she pulls the trigger on this thing. Hits him right, just dead center.
Oh, chest shot?
Yeah, dead center.
Yep.
And he was so close she couldn't see him.
Oh, yeah. Fill
in
the
the
scope
scope?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'd never shot a moose before. So, of course, she's just, she's
High
top
adrenaline,
level right now. Yeah. And she shoots this thing. and then has an adrenaline dump and just kind of like sits down, you know. And at this point, he turns around and starts running, and I'm like, you're not getting out of here because it's dark and I'm not chasing you. So I go to pull up my scope and it's fogged. And so I'm like, give me your gun, give me your gun. I'm trying to grab her gun. And I go to pull up and shoot him. And this guy makes it maybe, I don't know, 75 yards and dumps right there in the swamp. And I was like, oh, thank God.
You didn't have to shoot him.
No, one
down.
shot and he was done. And fortunately enough, we were close enough that I actually went back, grabbed the tractor, came around, picked him up with the force.
Perfect.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, he ran all the way up to the edge of a trail that we had built previously.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were so lucky.
Yeah.
We'll have to get
Grab
some
him,
pictures
pull
from
him
you
out.
if you have any
Yeah,
That'd be
of
absolutely.
cool.
that, so we could put
Yeah.
it up there so people can check that out.
So, but he was a big boy. Just his horns alone were, I mean, he wasn't big. He was like 50 something, 58, 59, but he had 80-pound horns.
Wow.
I mean, his
Thick
bases
beams.
were
Huge bases.
Yeah.
tall, perky ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
Big mature
body.
bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
500-600 pounds of meat off of them.
oh yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Easy, yeah. And when you can pick him up and, you know, we hang him in the barn and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Strip them down. Yeah. Take your time.
It was sweet. It was super sweet.
That's cool.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Perfect cuts.
Yep.
Right on. Well, Adam, thanks for coming out, man. Thanks for sharing the stories of your life up here in Alaska and growing up and cooking and your passion and the big grill you got going and the oyster
Yeah,
plans.
absolutely.
And
Gila.
any other questions for Chef Adam here? You guys can check him out on his Instagram, Chef
Underscore
_
Marcum.
Adam Marcum. No, let's get it right here. What is it?
I don't even
Chef
remember, to be
_
honest.
Marcum.
Chef underscore
Marcum.
Marcum, MARCM, and we'll definitely put the picture up on the thing. Appreciate you living that Alaska lifestyle and sharing your ideas with us, and
Absolutely.
hopefully we'll get that grill out for one of our live events here and get the oysters shucked up and get all that stuff rolling. And really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
If you
it's
end up
great to
doing
have you here.
that video log, we'll throw it up on the feed and promote it. That sounds awesome for
Yeah,
all
we got
Alaskans.
We got the website coming up with the wild game recipes.
Yep.
We'll have to get Marcum's stuff on there.
Some of that
for
stuff
sure.
up there. So
Yeah.
go ahead and check
Yeah.
out the website, alaskawildproject.com. We got our recipes up there, and hopefully we'll get this vlog going up there of Chef Adam doing his chefing about. And if you haven't been up to Rustic Goat yet, definitely go check out Rustic Goat. There's a lot of your menu recipes and stuff up there that they're still banging out.
Yeah. And the chef there now, he's phenomenal. He's
Protege of yours?
yeah.
Yeah.
Young kid making it happen.
What's his name?
Hunter Jones.
Hunter Jones.
Hunter
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, I seen him out there banging it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's an Alaskan guy name if you ever
Hunter
heard one, huh?
Jones.
Yeah.
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 Right on. Well, thanks again, and we appreciate you guys, and thank you for listening. Leave us a like, a share, a review on the Apple, a comment in the YouTube, and if we're trying to name this guy's Big Grill, I'm going with Gila. I don't think it,
I like it.
ran the steam on that. But any of your ideas, check it out, and go ahead and give Chef Adam Marcum a follow on the Instagram. And thank you, Alaska, for supporting us.
That's it.
You of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Locate 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com.